Well, one of my stories is about a package drop I made in Ecuador. And our mission center was in the eastern jungles of Ecuador at a place called Limoncocha. And it's out there in the pure jungle. And one day, a runner burst out of the rainforest and ran towards our clinic, our mission clinic, and went up to the nurses. And he was excited and trying to speak Spanish to them. He was Siona, from the tribe of the Siona Indians, and his name was Helio. And he told them, my people back home in our village are very sick and some of them are dying. And so the nurses questioned him and found out kind of what the best treatment would be. And so they said, well, how long did it take you to get here? And he said, well, he says, I've been a day and a half in canoe and on the trail running to reach your mission center. And they knew that that would be a day and a half for him to get back. And so they said, why don't you go over to the air hangar and talk to our mission pilot, Roger, and have him take you back to close to your village, the nearest airstrip, and drop you off. And then he can drop a package of medicine right into your village so that they can get the medicine as soon as possible. And so Helio came over to the hangar, and I talked to him, and I put him in the Helio Courier next to me, and I took the package of medicine that the nurses had prepared and had put in a box, and it was well packaged so that it would not destroy the medicine from a drop from several hundred feet in the air at 50 to 60 knots, or about 60 miles an hour speed. And so we headed north from our mission center up towards where his village was, and I landed at a village near him where there was an airstrip near his own village, and then he would have to hike through the jungle for another hour and a half or so to reach the village where I was going to drop the package, so that he would get there after I'd dropped the package, but soon enough to help the people, since he'd been trained by our missionary nurses in how to do medical things, and so he would help them with the medicine. So I dropped Eohili off at this airstrip, and then he began running through the jungle as I took back off and headed out to his village, which was called Puerto Bolivar, in the northern jungles of Ecuador. And when I arrived over his village, it's right on the river, and in front of the huts, there's kind of an open area where the kids play soccer, and then it drops over the edge of the bank there by their huts down to the river. And the river was low at this time of year. It was the less rainy season. There's no such thing as dry season. It's just rainy season or less rainy season. In Ecuador, you have 400 inches of rain a year. That's a lot of rain. Everything molds over there. We had light bulbs in our closets to keep our shoes and belts from molding. And anyway, so I arrived over the village. I saw in front of the huts there, next to the riverbank, was an open space where the kids play soccer. And so I decided I would make my approach about 100 feet off the top of the jungle trees with the window open on my pilot's side, pilot door. And I had the package in my lap. And then I would drop it out the window so that it would land in that little patchy area there in front of the huts, but not in the river. And so I came in low with partial flaps and slowed down about 60 miles an hour and 100 feet off the trees. And I said, now, and I threw it out the window. And then you don't look down, because if you watch it, you're going to might crash into the trees in front of you. So I went to full power and began my climb. And then I came back and circled back to see what I'd done, if it landed in between the huts there in the clearing. And all the people had run down into the river. And I said to myself, oh, you dingbat, you've missed. I'd overshot. And sometimes you don't know exactly what the wind's doing, and you try to guesstimate the best you can how the package will fly as it lands. And so I circled a few times, and finally the people waved at me, and they were holding the package. And so I knew they'd gotten it. So I flew back to the mission center. Several weeks later, Eugelio came running out of the jungle again to our mission center, to the clinic. And he told the nurses, thank you, it worked. No more of our people died. The medicine did its thing. And he says, they're all recovering now. And he says, I've come to share that with you and to tell you thank you. And he said, oh, and where's Capitan Rogelio? Where's Captain Roger? They said, over at the hangar. So he came running over to me and he said, Capitan Rogelio, tú eres el mejor piloto de todos. I said, I'm the best pilot of all? And he said, sí. I said, why? He says, you hit, in Spanish he kept talking, you hit a little 3-foot wide sandbar in the middle of the river, bullseye center. And I said, really? Seguro? Sí, seguro. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure, he said. I said, wow. He says, yeah. He says, that was perfect. He says, it didn't even get wet. Right in the middle of the river, that little 3-foot diameter sandbar that you hit. And the people were excited. And he says, so gracias, thank you for what you've done for my people. And I just had to say, thank you, Lord, because I had aimed for in front of the huts, and the package had not been lost or destroyed, and it still survived, and they thought I'd done a great job, and that's what counted. But anyway, that's my medicine drop from March of 1980 in the jungles of eastern Ecuador.